Hey, this is Yazuki Wolf, and you're watching JapanQuest Episode 3. Today we're going to be talking about how I learned Japanese. And as suggested in a comment in my last video, today we're going to be doing our video while enjoying some very nice sake. This is Toto Champuru. This was sake from Okinawa, and it was given to me by a good friend who's been helping me out a lot lately with materials and supplies and just helping me get my card game working out and helping with a lot of the different events and things that I've been going to, different conventions and stuff like that. But anyways, so he went to Okinawa and he brought this he brought this back for me from Okinawa. So we're gonna give this a try. This is actually my second attempt at this video, so I've already drank some of it, but yeah, we could drink some more. Cool. And I have to say that I am not that big on. I'm more of a wine guy than a sake guy, but I do enjoy the sake from time to time, so let's go ahead and give it a try. Very good. It's got that nice smooth taste to it that's easy to drink, but still has that kind of heat that kind of like spreads throughout your mouth as it goes down. Good stuff. So, topic at hand. How to learn Japanese. Or rather, how I learned Japanese. So, when I first came to Japan, well, let's go back before that. I told you in my first video that when I was younger I had a half Japanese friend who taught me your basics, like how to count to 10 and your basic greetings like Ohayo gozaimasu, konnichiwa, that type of stuff. But then, life happened and I didn't really have time to continue my studies until probably about high school when I kind of started thinking about my future and what type of job I want to do, and I thought, well, maybe I could be a translator. So I started studying Japanese. I went to the bookstore, I picked up some phrase books, and I just started reading as much as I could, trying to learn as much language as I could. I was trying to learn Tagalog, the Filipino, the main Filipino language. I was trying to learn Korean. I took a Korean course even in college as well, and I studied a little bit of like how to speak Thai, and I was just buying phrase books by the dozen and just reading through all of them. And now that it kind of hurt me in that I could have been learning more of my Japanese, but in a way it was kind of a good experience because I got to see how language works. It was good for like a basic linguistic knowledge of language. I was able to learn how verbs work and how nouns work and how a sentence is structured and how that could be different in different languages, and just gave me a very good framework, I think. But I didn't really get too serious about my Japanese study, especially because I don't think I actually had any Japanese friends. Like, most of my friends were from Philippines or other countries, so I kind of tended to lean toward learning those languages because I actually had people that I could talk to. I don't think I really got that good at any of those languages, but I knew enough. But then, like I said in my last video, I got the chance to come to Japan, and so I had about a year after that was decided before I was going to come to Japan. So I was like, in that year I was like, oh crap, I gotta learn Japanese. So I got all the books I could and I just started reading as much as I could, and I started making flashcards and all this type of stuff and just getting ready. I think so. One thing about flashcards is that there's a lot of books. If you go to the store, there'll be a lot of like flashcards that they sell where it'd be like there's say 2,000 kanji that you're supposed to know for the top level test in Japanese, the language proficiency. Sorry, I think I drank too much sake. I'm starting to kind of slur. But yeah, it was like there were some tests and stuff like that, and so they'll give you the kanji one by one. And I bought a couple. I think I bought like a couple of those, but it really is not that helpful. Why? Well, I mean, maybe for some people maybe it is, but for me it didn't work. And the reason why is that you have a flashcard, right, and it has one kanji on it, and on the back of it, it has all the readings of that kanji and like all the different ways it could be used. For example, you might have the kanji that says for down, which generally if it's just that kanji, it's going to be shita. But on the back of that, it's going to have every different reading that's possible for that kanji, because you have to understand that kanji originally came, they're Chinese characters that then they have a Chinese reading and then they have a Japanese reading, and I think it's the on reading and the kun reading. So you have two different readings you have to memorize, and those readings can also change depending on the combination. And I'm not going to have enough time to go into all of this on this episode. So this is going to be a overall, like a broad summary of how I learned Japanese. And then if you have any specific questions, we could get into that in future episodes. Just go ahead and write it in the comments below, and I'll get to it when we can. But let's just say that basically, so you have this one kanji on one side of the card, and then you turn it around, and so if it was the kanji for down, you'd have the readings shita, oriru, maybe sagaru, it's here, shita, oriru, sagaru, it's here, there's at least 8 of them, but there'd be all these different readings for that one kanji. And the reason why that didn't work for me for a flashcard is that the thing about flashcards is they're supposed to be fast. You're supposed to be going like, sorry, you're supposed to be going like shita, no, hagaki, claymore, or whatever. You're just supposed to be going through all these, sorry, claymores here. But anyways, you're supposed to be going through these flashcards like quick, like pop, 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 pop. But instead of that, you're like, you see this one kanji and you're like, shita, oriru, sagaru, ge. What other readings were there for that thing? I know there's 8 of them. Let's see here. It kind of defeats the purpose of having a flashcard, and it's not useful either, because when you don't use kanji that way. Kanjis make up words, and if you have a kanji without any context, it doesn't really, well, for me, it just didn't really click in my brain very well. So what I did is I made my own flashcards. I went online, I can't remember the site, I'll try to put it in the notes if I remember it, but there was a site that had the most common words that came up in the Japanese language proficiency tests. And I just went through that, and every word that I got right, I would just skip it, but every time there was one that I didn't know, I would write it down. And I made the flashcard, I took like postcards like this, and I cut it in half, and then cut it in half again, and with that fourth of the paper that's left, I would write the word down. And then I would write the reading of that word on the back with the meaning, so that I was learning the readings of words, the most common words, and I was learning the writings of it. And now what this means is that now instead of having 2,000 flashcards, you're gonna have, I don't know, 10,000 flashcards maybe, I don't know, because you're doing the words instead of doing the individual kanjis by themselves. And of course, I don't start off with 10,000 flashcards. You go through it like once every month. I had like a stack of flashcards every month that I went through. But for me, that was just a whole lot better for learning the language, because I was learning the words. I was learning words and kanji at the same time, instead of just trying to learn individual kanji and all their possible readings, and then later on figure out how those things combine and form words, because it just, without the context, it just didn't work. So I got the context of the kanji of how they make words. And I think I'm spending way too much time on that, so if you have more questions, let me know in the comments. We'll try to split up, make a series of how to learn Japanese, maybe. So this is just the intro about how to learn Japanese on our JapanQuest, and it's going to be about how I learn Japanese. For other questions about how you can learn Japanese, we'll make another series later. And let me know what type of things you want to know about that. So then I did that, and I came to Japan. And it was cool. I had a good vocabulary. But like I said in my last video, I couldn't really understand people when they talked to me, because my whole study experience was reading and practicing flashcards and just learning words that way. So when I came to Japan, I couldn't really understand people. So to fix that, every day during my lunch break, I would read. Every day during my lunch break, I had a laptop, so I would watch a Japanese anime or a Japanese drama. And this kind of coupled with something I was doing before I came to Japan, because while I was in America still, during my lunch break at my work, I was working at a bookstore then. So while I was at the bookstore and waiting for customers to come to the register so I could ring them up, I would be sitting there with my flashcards going like, okay, then customer come, okay, all right, that'd be $3.99. Okay, now back to flashcards. And then, so I was studying that while I was at work, and then after that, when I had my lunch break, give me one second. Okay, so then after that, when I had my lunch break, I would spend an hour reading Japanese manga. I remember I was reading Rurouni Kenshin, and I would spend about an hour to read one page a day. Now that may seem slow, but it was good, because what I would do is I would look through that page, I would find, I don't have Rurouni Kenshin here, but let's just pretend. So we got like Claymore here. and I would find all the words that I don't know. I would write them in my notebook. Then I would look them up with a Denshiji Show. This is a electronic dictionary. Nowadays you all have smartphones, so you could probably just get an apply or something for it. But back then we had to pay like $200 for something like this. But then, so I would look it all up in my dictionary, and I would write it in my notebook. And then when there was grammar that I didn't know, I would try to look that up too. But yeah, so doing that helped me a lot. And then when I came to Japan, when I would take my lunch break and I would watch a Japanese anime or something, that really helped, because now what you could do is you could couple the two of those together. So you could read an episode of a manga and then watch the episode of the anime, and you would see and hear the same things you just read. So that was really helpful. And in terms of what type of anime and manga to read, I would say first you want to start out with shonen or shoujo. That's boys manga or girls manga. There's also seinen and like adult mangas and stuff like that. You don't really want to go for those so much, because the younger audience ones, the shonen and the shoujo, they have something that we call furigana. And I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see this, but let's see. If you can kind of take a look around here, you see there's some kanji, and then next to the kanji there's going to be little small lettering, and that small lettering is what we call furigana, and that's basically just a small version of hiragana that tells you how to read the kanji. So what that means then is that you could, after you learn hiragana and katakana, you can already start reading these, even if you don't know any kanji yet. And that means that you can start learning kanji while you read these, which is great, you know. I'd say as much as possible, it's not about studying hard. You want to study a lot and you want to be dedicated to it, but it's about taking what you study and applying it. That's the key to learning the language. I went to the school, I went through books like Mine no Nihongo, Japanese, what is it called? Japanese for busy people, yeah. So you have these like workbook stuff that you go through in school, and you learn some grammar and stuff from those, and that was really, really helpful. But if you don't use it and you don't get a context for how that language is, that those words are used, it's not really going to have the same power. Like, I found that I never really felt that I understood a word in Japanese until I actually saw it being used for real in like a Japanese book, like not a learning book, but a book that was written originally for Japanese readers, or I hear an actual Japanese person say it, or this is the thing that really solidified it, that this is real, is when I would say it and people would understand me. Then I was like, oh, okay, now I understand this word. But like when I was just in like the Japanese class and you're just learning stuff, it's like you still have this kind of like iffiness, like, is that really gonna work? Am I really gonna be able to say this and people are gonna understand me? You know, and it sounds kind of weird, but maybe you understand once you get here and you kind of experience. Maybe you won't, I don't know. But for me, it was like that. But so, where was I? So yeah, so the great thing is that I would read this and then I would watch the show, and I watched it the first time without any subtitles, just raw. And you'd be watching it and you're like, okay, I think he's the bad guy. I'm pretty sure that she doesn't like him. I'm not sure what happened in that scene, but I don't know. And maybe you get like maybe 20-30% of it. If you read this ahead of time, you probably would get more, but sometimes, you know, not just anime, you want to watch drama, Japanese drama and stuff too, so sometimes you would just be completely immersed into that. But anyways, so you don't understand all of it. But then, after that, you watch the same episode again, but this time put the subtitles on. And now with the subtitles, you'll watch it and you'll be like, ah, wait, oh, so he was the bad guy. Oh, okay, and then you start putting it together and you're like, okay, now I get it. And they're like, oh, so that's what he meant when he said that, you know, and it all kind of like starts making sense, it clicks in your head. So then, you watch the same episode a third time, and this time you put no subtitles again, just raw. And by this time, your brain is sort of like expecting certain things to come out. They're expecting certain phrases because you've heard it already 2, 3, possibly 3 times if you already read this too. And so you're expecting it. And so it kind of opens up your ears and your hearing so that you start really recognizing those sounds. And that's basically, I think, how I was able to start actually being able to hear Japanese. I spent like the first 3 months that I was in Japan, I just did that every day. And after that, suddenly I just started understanding people. And I have a lot more to say. This is just too big of a topic to do in one episode, so I'm gonna have to really make this short. I'm just gonna give you a quick gist of everything, but so like for the first 3 months and stuff, I have to say it's really tough, because the other things you want to do is you want to go out there and you want to actually engage people and try to speak Japanese, and you'll have so many days where like you'll just be like, I just couldn't understand what they were saying, I just couldn't say what I wanted to say, I couldn't express myself, and like that thought just keep coming into my head when I get home, like I need to study more, I need to know this language. And there would be long periods where you'd be wondering, like, am I even improving? Is anything changing? But then one day, like all of a sudden, you'll just realize, wait a minute, I'm saying stuff I never said before. I'm in situations I've never been in before, and you'll look back and you'll be like, crap, I've really improved. And it kind of works like that, where it's like you don't really feel the gradual improvement. It's more like you're just working, and then one day you're like just realize, oh crap, I'm better. It's like it's kind of a difficult thing where you have it's a lot of hard times, like not really knowing if you're actually improving or not. And I'll have to be honest that I never thought I'd be able to speak Japanese to the extent that I can speak today. I was hoping I'd be able to get by living here and stuff. I never thought I'd be able to speak Japanese at the level where I would be able to go to interviews in Japanese companies, and like I've brought in my manga to different publishers and stuff. I've met editors at Jump Comics, Young Jump Comics magazine. I've been to so many freaking places, all just completely Japanese, and I never thought I'd be able to speak that to that extent, but I was able to. And so, anyways, I want to keep this rolling because we got more stuff to go. So, the next thing about when you're reading these is that you can look up the vocabulary, but the problem is that sometimes there's going to be stuff outside the vocabulary, the grammar that you don't. There's going to be grammar that you don't know, and the grammar is going to be the tough part because you can't just look that up in a dictionary really easy. So what I found useful was I bought this book, Dictionary of Japanese, Basic Japanese Grammar. It's about a $30 book. I mentioned it in my other video. It's really good, and they actually have an intermediate one as well. And they also have like an advanced one. I never bought the advanced one. I've read both of these. I've read this one numerous times, and it was really helpful for me. I have to say, everyone's brains work a little bit differently. I'm the type of person that I have a very mathematical brain, and I like to learn systems, so that's why like grammar was never scary for me. I enjoyed grammar, but a lot of people are really scared of grammar. And so if you're one of those people that aren't really into grammar, then I would suggest just learn, like picking up books. Like when I was in school, we were learning with workbooks like Mina no Nihongo or Japanese for Busy People. I'm pretty sure if there's a Mitsuwa by you, when I lived in Chicago, they used to sell that. And I think in Chicago they even sold this too. So you look at Amazon, look at it in your local bookstore, maybe they do. But like yeah, those types of books, what they do is they have a simple dialogue, and it will like Mary meets Tanaka-san or something like that, and it'll have them have a conversation, then it'll break down their conversation and give you a couple of simple grammar points. That could be very helpful for you if you're scared of grammar and you just want like little bite-sized pieces. For me, I felt like I wanted to get right into the meat, like those workbook type stuff. That stuff just felt like cake. It was just like you're eating like all these sweets and just trying to get some nutritional value out of it. But for me, I just want to go straight for the meat of it, so straight into the guts. So that's why I did the whole Mina Nihongo. I did all those books in school, but like I would get home, I would finish my homework in like 20 minutes, and then I would spend an hour reading this. This is a thick ass book with lots of information for you, and it's just pure information. Like there's no like just trying to like, okay, now we're gonna learn about the auxiliary verb hoshi work. It's not like that. It's just straight up, okay, this grammar point works like this. Here's a couple examples. You figure it out type of stuff. And it's just like one after the other, like every single page, every couple pages is a new grammar point. And so for me, that was like really useful learning this. And the other really great thing about it is that it's in order, it's ordered alphabetically. So what that meant is that if I'm reading one of these and I come across something that I can't find in my dictionary and I just don't understand what it is, it's probably because it's not a word. It's probably a grammar function. So what you do is you look in here in the alphabetical order for whatever that is, and you can find out what that grammar function is. and I really hope I didn't scare you off with all that like linguistic type stuff, but it's like that's just giving you an idea what this book is like. It's just straight up telling you the hard, like this is probably, it's very a linguistic type of analysis of the language. It's not like the casual type of like a phrase book that's gonna say if you want to go, if you're going to a restaurant, you can say this sentence and just replace this part with the thing that you want to eat or something like that. And those books are kind of good. I read a lot of those books when I was first learning the language, but ultimately those are basically made for people who are just going to be here for a couple weeks and need to learn how to order a hamburger. You know, it's not for people who are going to be staying here. It's not for if you want to become a manga artist, because you're going to have to learn how to make your own sentences. You're going to have to learn how to put things together on your own and express your own ideas, and not just be able to repeat like sentences that are already pre-packaged for you. I mean, it's going to be a lot of work. You can't like, there's only a certain number of sentences that you can memorize, and that's just going to be enough to let you get by on your 2-3 weeks that you're here or something. If you want to really learn the language, you need to learn the grammar. I know that grammar is scary for a lot of people, but you're gonna have to get some of it. And I'm not telling everyone to buy this book. I'm telling you, if you aren't scared of grammar and you want to get right into the meat of it, then yeah, I really recommend this. But if not, Mina Nihongo, you know, like Japanese for business people, those workbook type ones are very, very a good balance of like giving you some type of dialogue with like a simple grammar point attached to it. And yeah. So back to, because I don't want to get too much into how you can learn Japanese here, because that I'll just keep talking forever then. But let's just talk about how I learned it then. So where was I? So I read the comics, and you don't want to just read the comics. One thing, if you're reading comics, the action ones are really good, and people like me, I know that we really enjoy these, but this is not how people generally talk. So you're gonna want to start reading some ones with more regular dialogue too. I remember that the manga that I read that really started like teaching me more regular conversation, more regular dialogue was Death Note. Yeah, Death Note was definitely a lot more practical Japanese in there. And then, I mean, I think if you're a girl and you're doing like shoujo manga or something, I'm sure a lot of shoujo manga actually has a lot more practical Japanese too. But basically, you don't want to just you want to be able to have polite Japanese as well as the sort of casual Japanese and everything all mixed together. And that's important, because you don't want to be going around Japan all like using lines that you learn in manga. People will find you interesting, but they're not going to take you very seriously. So, but then you don't want to be all around Japan always just learning the polite stuff either, especially if you want to be a manga artist. You don't want to just be completely this polite form guy that can't speak any like regular casual Japanese, because it'd be hard to have like casual friends, and when you're writing manga, all your characters will seem very, very stale. So you want to be able to get a general idea of the whole language, and that's another reason why I say it's not about just studying, it's about participating, about using what you study and getting into the language, and basically anything you can do in Japanese, do it in Japanese. Like I read a lot of books in English before I came to Japan, but then I got to the point where I was starting to learn to be able to read in Japanese, and I took a period where I just fasted from English. No more reading English books. I'm going to read in Japanese from now on. And I even now, like a lot of times if I'm going to read something, I try to get the Japanese version, a Japanese translation. Like if I want to read The Hobbit or something, I'm going to read it in Japanese, you know, because it gives me more practice. That way I'm hitting two birds with one stone. I'm entertaining myself with something I want to read, and I'm also improving my Japanese skills. And same thing with video games. As much as possible, I try to get the Japanese version. Even if it's an American game, I try to play it in Japanese. Just try to always constantly keep feeding that. Whatever you can do in Japanese, do it in Japanese. And at first you aren't going to be able to do very much, but that's okay. You just do what you can. If you can't read a novel in Japanese, that's great. That's fine. Just go ahead and here I am talking about how you can learn Japanese again. Okay, so whatever, if you hear something that I didn't really explain fully, put it in the comments. I'll get back to it in another series. I think I'm going to do a different series about learning Japanese, because this is JapanQuest and it's not really focused on that so much. And I think that's pretty much how I learned the language. You know, it's just about using it as much as possible. You know, I started writing journals in Japanese. A lot of them weren't very good, but you know, I tried whatever I could. I did. And I start using hiragana and katakana as soon as you can. Don't be writing everything in American character, not American, but Romaji, in Roman characters. Don't always use Roman characters. Try to just, even if you don't know all your hiragana yet, like have a little chart next to you, look at it and just write them while you're doing it. And I mean, I learned hiragana and katakana in about like 2 weeks. You just gotta get that chart and like get like a blank version of it and make a couple copies, and every day just fill in everything you know, and everything you don't know just mark it down, and like make yourself study those parts more, and the next day fill it in again. Just make sure and just keep doing that until you can fill in the whole chart without looking. That's how I learned it in about 2 weeks. And then after I had done that, I started keeping notes to myself and like writing sentences in Japanese. And from then on, whenever I wrote anything in Japanese, I never used Romaji or Roman characters. I always wrote in at least hiragana and katakana. And when there was kanji, I wrote the kanji while looking at it. But yeah, so that's pretty much how I learned it. Is there anything else to say? I don't think so. So we're going about time's up. So anyways, if you have any more comments, please put them below. In our next episode of Japan Quest, we're going to go into me leaving Japan and then the time I spent in America in between coming back to Japan. I'm going to try to get to my experiences in the manga school as soon as possible. I think probably the next 2-3 episodes we'll start talking about that, and I'll try to start doing some of the new manga workshop episodes as well. I looked at the quality of my old manga videos isn't very good. The audio is kind of messed up, so I want to redo those. So I'm going to probably start redoing those pretty soon. And depending on your comments, I might start doing some a series on how to learn Japanese as well. Other than that, yeah, just one last thing to let you know. If you are trying to learn Japanese, when I came to Japan and I was in a linguistics class here, and they told me that they told us in the class that if you hadn't learned a language by the time you were, like, I think it was either 16 or 18, I'm not sure, it was something in the teens, that if you hadn't learned the language by then, that you probably were never going to learn it. And I was 23 when I heard that. I think I was probably 23, yeah. And I was like, wow, well, that sucks because I'm already 23. But I didn't listen to that, and I did everything I could to learn, and I was dedicated. And you know what? I learned it. I'm not gonna say I'm perfect. I'm not. I especially now I'm working at a company with Japanese workers, and I can see the difference when we're in a meeting and stuff. Like it's a lot easier for them to express their ideas. It's a lot easier for them to especially to make things sound cool. To make those when you're making a description of a video of a game that you're producing, or if you were doing manga, making a line for a manga, it's gonna be a lot of work to be at the same level as a native speaker, to be able to get the same flow and have it be as natural and everything. So I'm not perfect, but I'm working in a Japanese company. I never thought I was going to be able to speak Japanese as well as I can today. Honestly, I was hoping I would just be able to get by, but I'm not just getting by. I'm in Japanese society. I go to work in a Japanese company every day. All my coworkers are Japanese. We speak Japanese 100% of the time that we're there, and I'm all right. I'm able to conduct myself in Japanese, and I think that says something. I think I could generally say that I've learned the language, that I am able to speak Japanese. Even if I'm not perfect, even if I still have a lot of work to do and I still can improve a lot, the very fact that I meet people and I speak Japanese, I go to interviews in Japanese, I work in Japanese, I do everything in my life. A lot of things in my life, 90% of my life is probably in Japanese. So I'd say, yeah, I'm pretty functional in the Japanese language. And I started when I was 23. So if you are trying to learn Japanese and you are not there yet, don't be discouraged. You can get there. It's just a matter of really applying yourself and loving the language. If you don't love the language, if you're just trying to learn because you think you have to, it's going to be a rough road. I'm not going to make any promises about you being able to make it. But if you really love this language and you really want to learn, and that's your life goal, to learn Japanese, then you can. You just have to apply yourself and put in the hours every day, and You can do it. Just be consistent. Keep at it. And that's about all I got to say for that today. So, thanks for watching. See you again next time. Yoroshiku. The sake is good today.